here in the boardroom, as well as available for viewing on Zoom and TV6 and Granicus. I'd like to start by requesting that those in the room please silence your phones if you haven't already. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. I see that we have a quorum. We'll start today's meeting with our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Director David Veneman. David?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks, David. It's now time to approve our agenda. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda? Reza moves, Andy seconds. Thank you. Any suggested changes to today's agenda? Okay, all right.
I'd like to add the item from M&C for the reimbursement of golf cart charges in the carport. It's item 12.
Just give me a page number.
Yeah, item 12C, page 4 of 4 at the top.
Okay.
Item D.
Okay. Yes, and so we'll add that to the consent calendar since it was approved by the committee. Okay. All right. Okay. Any other changes? Any issues with progressing with the agenda with that change? Seeing none, we'll consider the agenda approved. Thanks, Jim. We'll now look to approve meeting minutes for 3 different meetings. Let's try to address them collectively. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the 3 meetings outlined in our agenda packet? Ira moves. David seconds. Thank you. Anybody have any suggested corrections or changes to any of those minutes? Okay, looking around, seeing none. Does anybody have any issues approving them as is then? Okay, seeing none, we'll consider those 3 meeting minutes approved. Thank you. We'll now move on to the report of the chair, agenda item 5. Good morning, everyone. Again, 3 years ago, a group of concerned Third Mutual members formed the Good Governance Coalition and identified 3 people to run in the 2021 election to fill the 3 director positions that were becoming available. And as a result of that effort, Directors Ira Lewis, Jim Cook, and myself were elected onto the 3rd board. On behalf of the 3 of us, I hope that we've met the expectations that you had when so many of you voted for us. The board terms of Ira, Jim, and me will expire later this year, and I'd like to use this opportunity to officially inform you that none of us will be rerunning to remain on a 3rd board past this October. I plan to run for the VMS board in December, as I feel that my management and process improvement expertise would be more applicable as a member of the VMS board, which oversees the operation of VMS, than they would be remaining on the 3rd board. And so in summary, there will be 3 open positions available to be filled in the upcoming annual 3rd board elections, with no incumbents rerunning to fill those positions. Why am I telling you this now? Because the annual election cycle is lengthy and key dates are coming up. Even though Third Mutual Manor owners won't be voting for new directors until September, in order to prepare, print, and mail ballots, applications to fill one of these 3 director slots becoming available in October need to be submitted between Monday, June 3rd and Wednesday, July 3rd. So you may be asking yourself, why would I want to become a 3rd board director? If you feel that your monthly assessments are too high, well, it's the 3rd board directors who determine what our monthly assessments are going to be for the mutual. If you feel that there are services that you need but are not getting, or services that are being provided that are not needed, it is the 3rd board directors who determine what services are provided for our mutual. If you want to protect your property values, you can rely on somebody else to do it, or you can do it yourself. If you are on the 3rd board, you have better control over community rules and maintenance, which can affect the value of your property. So once again, I'm requesting members to consider joining the third board. If you're out there and are interested in volunteering to revise the services and/or costs of our community, I hope you'll submit an application between June 3rd and July 3rd to participate in the upcoming election for new directors of the third board. And that completes my remarks for today. As always, thank you for listening and thanks for your support. We'll now move on to agenda item 6, which is our open forum. At this time, members may address the board of directors regarding items within the jurisdiction of this board of directors and not on the agenda. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum to 30 minutes. Each member is asked to speak for no more than 3 minutes. A member may speak only once during the forum, and speakers may not give their time to other people. Members not in the boardroom can share their comments by joining this meeting via Zoom or by emailing your comments to meeting@vmsinc.org to have your message read during this open forum, should time permit. Michaela, are there any requests for members to speak?
Yes, we have 2 in-person speakers and then 1 email that I'll read after. The first speaker is J.R. Davis.
Good morning.
J.R. Davis, 34150. I'm PC Club president. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. My subject is the GRF Building E space plan. We're very concerned and distressed about a potential move from the 3rd floor of this building as described in one of 2 options prepared by the GRF Building E Space Planning Ad Hoc Committee. It would move the PC Club from the current 3 rooms on the 3rd floor of this building to 1 room on the 1st floor. There's actually a couple of side offices as well. The PC Club is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides hands-on technical assistance and learning opportunities for all residents. We also provide and support a free tax program for village residents. 1,220 tax returns were prepared and submitted this year so far. Unlike many clubs, the PC Club provides a service to all village residents. The club exists to serve the community, not just the club members. We have 51 volunteer workshop supervisors, greeters, and instructors, and an additional 40 tax consultants during tax season. Several additional instructors teach classes in the Korean language as well, and that's managed by the Korean language chair that's on our board. We have 500 members who contribute financially. That number varies a little bit month by month. We have a mailing list of 2,700 consisting of those who use our services. They're mainly residents who attend our classes, come to the workshop to get help with their devices, and to use our computers, printers, and scanners. Our current spaces on the 3rd floor are perfect for the services we provide. We have 2 adjacent rooms, a workshop, and a classroom, and we have worked very hard to assemble and maintain the dedicated volunteers to accomplish our mission. In the past year, we replaced all 21 student computers in the classroom and added a 4K projector and a 150-inch screen thanks to a grant from United Way for the tax program. We donated all of these to GRF. They're vital for classes and for residents' tax return preparation. We are also improving the workshop to keep pace with changing trends to accommodate mobile device walk-ins. However, most workshop users prefer our desktop computers for serious work, such as printing, scanning, and that they can't do at home. One of the guiding principles established by the ad hoc committee was to enhance residents' recreation and activity experience. The option to move the PC Club does the opposite, and we urge you to reject it if it comes to this board. We're asking the governing boards to please approve the replacement of Building E and do not approve all the disruption, hardships, and reduction of service that will result from moving the clubs from the third floor of the community center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Min Sese.
Men, we've already put yours on the agenda now, so
I would like to thank you for doing that. However, Mr. Laws, members of the board, good morning. A couple of weeks ago, the owner of the electric vehicle that was charging in our carport indicated that due to his charging problems, he has surrendered his EV charging sticker and will no longer charge in the carport. The result is, with coordination with other owners of electric vehicles, we are now able to charge again with minimal disruption. I am here to withdraw my request, and thank you again, Mr. Cook, for bringing it up. Thank you, Mr. Laws and directors, for taking up my request, and Mr. Reinhardt and the Maintenance Committee. And lastly, I would like to thank you, Mr. Laws, and the board members for the constant emails that we receive informing us of what's going on with the board and the community. That is a huge, huge improvement from previous, well, no names, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And I'll go ahead and read the email that was sent in to us from Chris Collins, Manor 3306Q. They stated, I am here today with an update on the work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods on behalf of residents experiencing temporary financial crisis. An uncomfortable topic, funeral arrangements. The day that Mary's husband died, she was overwhelmed by emotion and memories. She had to call her children and closest friends. She started to think of what her life would become. This overwhelming swirl of thoughts and emotions was not a time for heavy financial decisions. Yet all of a sudden, she had to make funeral arrangements, and the funeral home wanted to be paid in full before services could be provided. A sudden death without prearranged funeral plans can be emotionally and financially devastating. Yet for many, including Mary, talking about death had been taboo. The next broadcast in the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village's televised series entitled Planning for the Inevitable removes the taboo and discusses the advantages of pre-planning one's funeral. For example, pre-planning can reduce stress, lock in costs, arrange payment plans, avoid conflicts, and ensure personal wishes are followed. What are the key decisions involved in making final arrangements? What are some of the costs involved? What if you have no surviving close family? What can you do? When making such plans, there are precautions we should be aware of. These questions and issues will be the focus of the Foundation's next broadcast, which will be aired on Village Television beginning Saturday, May 14th at 12 noon and continue on Saturdays for the month of May. Tune in and hear Renee Tepper, a pre-planning advisor for several local funeral homes and cemeteries affiliated with Dignity Memorial, a national company. If you want to view this broadcast on your own schedule, it is also available on the Foundation website, foundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org, under a special tab, Planning for the Inevitable. This website section includes the YouTube links for this broadcast and all of our earlier ones. If you have any questions about this topic or the upcoming broadcast, please contact the Foundation at 949-268-2246 or thefoundation@comline.com. For more information about the Foundation, please go to our website at foundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org. Please note that donations can always be made using PayPal or a credit card on the Foundation website. And that is all for open forum.
Okay. Thank you, Michaela. Appreciate that. Are there any responses from any board members regarding the open forum comments? Andy?
Hello, everyone. My comments are directed back respectfully to J.R. Davis. J.R., we've met briefly, but my cohort, Nancy Carlson of the United Board, has talked extensively with the PC and Mac people. I believe, and she believes, and most people believe, that the computer clubs do a great service for the community, and they help the community to stay connected, up to date. So kudos for doing that. We encourage it. On the other hand, Us too, as being a subcommittee, we were given certain parameters to investigate some possible solutions to the Building E question. And these parameters were designed for a village-wide impact. Nothing personal. This is strictly business, and following on the steps of what was done by the Austin Company, a very well-known management consulting space planning company that was paid $50,000 by the GRF board. They severely cut back the computer operations as they now exist. Really severely cut it back. I found out later on they didn't talk to you all at any length. And I think a lot of their assertions were baloney, to be honest with you. So we talked to the PC and Mac people. We also talked to a lot of other people. And you have to keep in mind, this is village-wise. So we're team players. And what's good for the whole village? Change is always difficult, but change for the better is something we all should do. And we believe our proposal within the parameters is change for the better. Now, it may not be the ideal situation, but I want to reaffirm, we were given certain parameters, boxed in as it were, and we delivered. Now, you could argue about those parameters, but we delivered. And I think we have the best option of the two. One thing you left out of your comments, and I understand why, it was handled kind of undercover, the former drop-in billiards room in Clubhouse 1. Are you familiar with it?
Yes.
Okay, that suddenly, to many of us, was converted from a dedicated space to a multi-purpose room, effective in September. We did not know that when we were doing our calculations and assertions. Subsequently, because we know that room is open, we've advocated that the 1,700 square foot room be partially repurposed as a computer classroom. So now your computer classroom on the third floor, as I understand it, is about 1,400 square feet. This is 1,700 square feet. It would also have the option to be equipped with state-of-the-art audiovisual so that up-to-date computer learning opportunities would be possible. Additionally, the equipment that you mentioned, and kudos for getting that equipment. However you do it, it's always great when the clubs provide us with equipment. That equipment can be moved. It can. And provide. The thing is, it's not about what you're doing. We think what you're doing is great. It's how you're doing and the construct of the whole village. You know, we're team players, and we were given a set of parameters, which you may or may not agree upon, but we delivered, and as part of that, we gave the computer operations roughly 2,300 square feet versus 3,200 square feet they have now. So it's only a drop of 900 square feet, and I would argue that this computer classroom idea is superb. We can do so many things with that, with computers leading it, and that'll help connect our residents better than we have in the past. So nothing personal, JR, nothing personal. This is all business. We were given parameters and we delivered. Now, there are some options. Whatever happens, I hope that that repurposed Clubhouse 1 billiards room is used for computer training and that sort of thing. I really do. So what I'm saying is our proposal is not, it's not an either or, it's one option. It hasn't been accepted yet, but it was strictly business, nothing personal. We talked to you, and we did a much better job than the Austin people who wanted to cut you by 2/3. So I hope you appreciate some of this. We tried. And keep up the good work, JR.
Thank you. May I respond briefly?
Sure.
Very,
Okay,
very briefly, please.
Okay, I did talk to Nancy for about 2 hours one day.
Yeah.
Frankly, I'm not sure she heard a lot of what I was saying.
Okay.
It was not clear to us if partial use of that room in Clubhouse 1 meant part-time or a part of the room. Because, it's a big difference. Now, I'm very familiar with change. I had a career in the military and a career in business. So I've seen a lot of change in my life, and I appreciate that. The thing is, there's always a trade-off also on the cost side between how much money can we save and what are the services we're providing. So that's really the issue here, because we will have to reduce some of our services from what I've been able to see of these proposals. So, that's just a fact. And getting all of our volunteers to keep on going and doing what they're doing, and with all this conflict, it's another big issue. Thank you.
I want to follow up.
Yeah,
Amen.
I'm trying not to
Let
get
me
into
let me finish
a
this.
discussion. This is not a discussion.
All right, let me just finish
All
this.
right.
I'm saying that, JR, these changes that we proposed, if you were to do this stuff from today, if you were to build this stuff or set it up today, it would not look like what you have right now. And the ideas about computer training, computer usage have changed. So this proposal, and that's all it is, gives us the flexibility to adopt the latest ideas and thinking.
I've spent over 60 years working with
I know
computers.
you did. Thank you.
So thanks, no need to discussion. Moon, you had something you wanted to say?
I think building E or any other building E been discussed for a long time, but the GRF has a lot of facility like Clubhouse 6. Most of the time they are close to the Clubhouse 6. Then they want to build another building. Seems to me they are not utilizing what they have. So we have to looking into all the possibility, what we already have, and are we utilizing them efficiently? And then they just want to build another building, doesn't make sense. I'm a member of a PC club. They are doing a great job, great service. There's no question. We got to support them, whatever it is. But, just like any other room renting, Clubhouse, the PC club has a lot of infrastructure in it. So if you move it, you have to stay there. So we have to be very careful how we're going to move it. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Seeing no other comments, I'm going to move on to agenda item 8, which is our CEO report. Siobhan, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, President Laws, honorable members of the board. I would like to start with some updates on the current items going on in our community. The first is Clubhouse 1's renovation. The work at Clubhouse 1 is approximately 40% complete and proceeding on schedule for an early September reopening. Per the work schedule, the contractor finished up exterior painting and is working on window and door replacements, and then starting on interior component replacements such as flooring, lighting, and bathroom fixtures. The 2025 budget meetings for version 1 of the budget started last week with the GRF capital review. Third's next meeting will be Thursday, May 23rd at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom, and this will be hearing from our maintenance and general services departments. And then landscaping will present to the third board on Monday, June 1st at 1:30 p.m. again here in the boardroom. To view the entire business plan budget calendar, you can go to the news tab on the village website. As a reminder, residents are eligible now for full-time employment here in the village, and they may apply for all VMS open positions. Please visit lagunawoodsvillage.com, scroll to the site's footer, and click on careers to view the current openings. I also want to share some excellent April statistics from resident services. Based on more than 8,700 calls, resident services achieved a all-time high 91% answer rate with an average hold time of 53 seconds. These are the best statistics that have been achieved since I've been here in the village. And a lot of this has to do with not only our staff who are getting up to speed and fully trained, but also the new callback feature, which allows residents to call in, leave their callback number, maintain their place in line, and this reduces the number of redundant telephone calls to resident services. So again, just want to celebrate resident services and their excellent April statistics. The 2025 reservation lottery is underway. This is how residents and clubs can reserve space for next year. And the lottery information and venue availability is available at our recreation office here on the first floor. Residents can either complete lottery cards by picking them up in the office and completing them, or emailing requests to recreation@vmsinc.org. These are for clubhouses 1, 2, 5, and 7, which are open daily from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., and the Performing Arts Center, whose hours vary depending on the events that are scheduled there. The completed cards and requests must be into the recreation office by 5 p.m. on June 17th. The City of Laguna Woods is updating its general plan and zoning code, and this is taking place to comply with state housing law changes, as well as intending to update uses to better represent what they are doing in our community. There are 2 areas in the village that are part of the proposal. The first is to rezone rezone Garden Center 1 from high-density residential to open space recreation. This will match the zoning at Garden Center 2. And then several El Toro Water District facilities within the village will be rezoned from residential community to community facilities, public institutional designation. These are properties owned by the Water District and do not contain any manors or common area amenities. Interested parties may obtain notice of the availability of the draft environmental impact report, proposed general plan elements, and Laguna Woods zoning code amendments at the city's website, cityoflagunawoods.org/projects, or pick up hard copies at the city clerk's office at City Hall. And the city is accepting comments on all of the above through June 23rd. These can either be emailed to the address on the screen or sent to City Hall to the attention of City Manager Christopher Macon. And the city will be handling a public hearing later once this process of collecting comments is completed. In landscaping services, an operational performance review is underway. The objectives of this review are to identify and report areas of inefficiency and ineffectiveness within the department, to pinpoint cost savings opportunities, and to determine ways to enhance resident satisfaction. This is about a 6-month process, and again, it just kicked off. The department has also recently implemented quality control software that has been demonstrated at the recent landscape committee meetings. We are pleased to announce that the department has hired a landscape services quality control supervisor who reports directly to the department head and inspects work performed by our ground crews within 1 week of being performed. The goal is to identify deficiencies, plant health, turf coverage, tree issues, and so forth. The supervisor also reports other items that he observes in the field for other departments, such as broken fencing, covered street signs, broken lights, and so forth. The quality control supervisor is Damian Gonzalez, who joined BMS last month. He holds a Bachelor's of Science in Plant Science from Cal Poly and an associate's degree in agricultural science. He has extensive pest control and landscape management background. I also want to touch on the importance of using village tech tools here in the community. First off, though, I want to start with an update on the village website redesign project, which is in process. This includes design concepts, content rewrites, navigation reconfigurations for ease of use, and search functionality. And then we want to encourage our residents to use village apps and website functions like Dwelling Live and the resident portal, as they are gaining greater importance in our ever digital world. In terms of resident technology tool, residents may automate payments using EasyPay. Right now, more than 25% of our members still pay their monthly assessments by check. If all monthly assessments were automated, the annual cost savings would be more than $50,000. Residents can visit lagunawoodsvillage.com residents' financial services for more information. Residents are also able to learn how to use tech tools thanks to our partnership with the PC Club. The next training on Village Tech Tools is Wednesday, June 19th at 1 p.m., and that's located in the PC Club upstairs on the 3rd floor. We encourage residents to use Dwelling Live to get their guests through the gates. This is the easiest, fastest way to welcome friends and family to the village. The app allows residents to send guests vendor passes via email or text 24 hours a day using their smartphones, tablets, or computers. Registering guests electronically for guest clearance can save up to $1.60 per visit. That replaces the call that would have to go to resident services or to one of the gatehouses. You can visit lagunawoodsvillage.com/passes to register or log in. And there are a number of tutorials available on our website for Dwelling Live. Residents are also encouraged to use the resident portal, portal.lagunawoodsvillage.com, to submit service requests to resident services, process credit card payments, check account balances, and the like. There's a great tutorial on the address shown on the screen before you. What's Up in the Village is the email e-blast that's sent to nearly 17,000 recipients every Friday afternoon and contains news and events, amenities and activities, reminders and information, and so forth. Residents are encouraged to subscribe to What's Up in the Village by emailing info@lagunawoodsvillage.com. And lastly, we want to remind everyone that if their email addresses have changed, to update those with resident services so we can stay in contact with you as needed. And they can do this by emailing resident services at vmsinc.org. We're also encouraging residents to receive their mandated November and April mailings electronically and help save $7.50 per member. If all 12,000 members were to opt out of paper mailings, our annual savings would be in excess of $90,000. You can make this election using the resident portal or by emailing info@vms.org. Thank you. That concludes my presentation this morning.
Great. Thank you, Siobhan. Appreciate that. Are there any questions for Siobhan? Ira?
Back on the budget meeting page, June 1st is a Saturday.
Let me check that date and I'll correct it in a few.
I believe it's the 4th. It should be the correct date.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Yeah, thanks. Andy?
Hi, Shaban. Nice report. I'm a little concerned about this rezoning of the Garden Center 1. I wonder why it wasn't done in the first place, along with Garden Center 2. Why weren't they zoned the same? I hope that doesn't, personally, I'm in favor of the rezoning, but I hope that that doesn't prejudice the handling. You know, the state has a lot of powers that can usurp what the people do locally. Huntington Beach is faced with this right now. You know, whether or not their proposals are good or bad, I don't know, but Huntington Beach is really there's a lot of pushback on Huntington Beach trying to do certain things. And so my point is, do we have a letter of support for the rezoning going to this hearing?
The city encouraged it to be rezoned to protect it for the exact reasons that
Yeah.
you just outlined. So it's moving forward as far as everyone is
Okay, so we're on
concerned.
record saying that we're,
Correct.
Yeah, of
GRF
course,
has
okay.
taken formal action encouraging it, and the city's aware of that.
okay, one more question that concerns the landscaping review. Kudos on that. Always nice to have another set of eyes to look at what we're doing. Will those potential changes somehow be incorporated into the budget review?
Depending on the timing, it would either be incorporated in the 2025 budget or we can make a budget adjustment as necessary.
Okay, so the landscaping for Third is coming up June 1st, according to the schedule.
Yes, this operational review just kicked off.
Okay.
And we're looking at a
So it
6-month
won't be in
horizon.
there, but we can talk about it. Okay, all right, thank you.
David?
Yeah, Siobhan, this is more a comment than a question regarding the resident services April call statistics. 91%, that's really good. as Andy was saying, kudos on that one. And I've actually used the callback feature a couple of times, and it's much appreciated.
Thank you very much,
Thanks, Dave.
our staff.
Okay, Moon?
Siobhan, not all our residents have access or are using computer or email, right? What percentage do you estimate?
Most of our residents are now at least using the internet. I can't speak to how they use it, but most of them are subscribed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Again, thanks, Siobhan, for that update. We're now moving on to agenda item 9, which is our consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board via a single motion. Today, per the consent calendar, the board is being asked to ratify the preliminary financials for the month of March 2024, approve one recommendation from the Landscape Committee, and one variance request recommended by the Architectural Controls and Standards Committee, or ACSC. Per the open forum request, we will rescind the addition that was added during the agenda approval. So can I get a motion to approve today's consent calendar as per the current printed agenda? Jim moves. And Ira seconds. Saw his hand first. Thanks, both. Any questions, comments from the board regarding the consent calendar? Any issues with approving it as is? Okay, seeing none, we'll consider the consent calendar approved by consent. And we'll move on to agenda item 10. Agenda item 10 is unfinished business. Today there are 3 unfinished business items to discuss. First up is agenda item 10A, which is for the board to entertain a motion to approve the revision of Standard 37 for patio and balcony covers and awnings. These updates were recommended by the ACSC, and last month the board voted to approve this revised standard forward for 28-day member review and comment. Today, we will be voting as to whether or not to accept this revised standard going forward. Before we proceed much further, Michaela, could you please read the resolution for us?
Yes. Resolution 0324XX, revised standard 37, patio and balcony awnings and covers. Whereas the Third Laguna Hills Mutual recognizes the need to amend standards and create new standards as necessary, and whereas the Mutual recognizes the need to revise Standard 37 patio covers and awnings, now therefore be it resolved May 21st, 2024, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts revision and amendments to Standard 37 patio and balcony awnings and covers as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that Resolution 03-1918 adopted February 19th, 2019 is hereby superseded in its entirety and no longer in effect, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written.
Great, thank you, Michaela. Can I get a motion to approve this updated standard, before we
So moved.
further? Jim moves, Moon seconds, thank you. Are there any questions, comments from members of the board? Okay, seeing none. Michaela,
Yeah, there's on page 15. 16, what is that? It's a resolution, too.
yeah, that's a resolution
That's
that
the resolution
Michaela
she
just
just
read.
read.
The way I heard it, so we read 324, not 319.
Hopefully, yes,
Okay, 324 is the one that okay,
yes. Yeah, the 319 is the one that's being
overwritten,
written
or
as
revised.
rescinded.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, got it. Okay. Kayla, do we have any member comments on this one? Okay, great. Given no comments, it's now time for us to vote. Looks like we'll be voting on the screen. Again, this time we're voting to approve the revised standard going forward. Hello. Okay. Looks like Paul's looking at something. It was there for a split second there, Paul.
Mark, Jules' hands up.
Oh, Jules, sorry. Jules, your hand is up. My mistake. I missed that.
Thank you, Jules.
I
Do
think
you,
he was voting yes.
do you have a comment, or are you voting yes?
I'm voting yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jules. Appreciate that. Okay. Is the system broken? And we want to vote by hand? It popped up there for a second, Paul.
Yeah, there's 4 people already voted.
Okay. Technology. Nope,
There we go.
okay. All right. For the board folks, hopefully it's in front of you. You can now vote.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we have all
And
the
the
votes.
voting is done. This passed 10 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. Thank you, board. Moving on to agenda item 10B, our second order of unfinished business is for the board to entertain a motion to approve our updates to our temporary storage container policy. These updates were recommended by the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee, and also last month the board voted to approve this updated policy forward for 28-day member review and comment. And today we will be voting as to whether or not to accept this revised policy going forward. Kayla, again, would you please read us this resolution as well?
Yes. Resolution 0324XX, temporary containers policy. Whereas the placement of temporary containers such as dumpsters, portable storage units, pods, and contractor trailers has caused safety and mobility concerns throughout the village. And whereas the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee has revised the policy that addresses these concerns. Now therefore be it resolved, May 21st, 2024, the Board of Directors hereby adopts the revised temporary containers policy as attached to the official meeting minutes, and resolve further, the safety, placement, and housekeeping of these items are the responsibility of the owner/resident, and resolve further that that third reserves the right to remove or relocate any item to remedy as unsafe condition, and resolve further resolution 03-18-111 adopted July 17, 2018 is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of this corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
Okay, thanks again, Michaela. Can I get a motion to approve the updated policy before we discuss it further? Jim moves. David seconds. Thank you. Any questions from board members? This one? Okay, I see none. Oh, Reza?
What is the maximum days that a container can sit in front of the unit? At what time they're going to say, well, no more? Is 3 months, 6 months?
I think as per last month in the same discussion, when the question came up, I think it was we were leaving it to the discretion of security, but we have Officer Lurie here to perhaps help answer that question for us.
That is correct. The 7 days is the preliminary guideline, and then it's discretionary after that. And actually, while I'm here, if I could add something, Mr. Veneman had a question at the last meeting about with regard to the average number of days a container is on site. And this is a difficult thing to track because the folks don't tell us when they've removed the container. We do a follow-up. We send someone out to make sure the container's been removed, but we don't have a concrete number to provide to you. What I will tell you is that the majority of the time, that container is gone within the 7 days, so the average would be 7 days or less.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Does that answer your question, Reza?
No, I still don't know what the maximum, at what time we decide that, the time is too much. It's 3 months, 6 months, because people do remodeling and sometimes it takes a long time, but there should be some understanding what is that length of time that a container can sit on the street.
Okay.
I don't know still what the answer
is.
is.
The answer is that it's at the discretion of security, so it could be a year.
It could be
or
as
more.
long as 6 months, a year.
That's my understanding.
Well, as long as we know what the requirement is.
Yeah. Okay. Moon?
I'm planning the major remodeling, and I asked my, contractor. They said when you take down That's why you need a container. After that, they don't need it. So about 7 days is plenty for them. And so I go along with the 7 days. I was concerned that, the major remodeling take about a year. So I don't know, 7 days may be not enough, but, they said it's good enough.
Okay, thanks. All right, any other comments? Okay. Any member comments on this one? Okay. All right, given that, we are now at the voting stage. Again, we're voting as, thank you, Officer Lurie. We're voting as whether or not to approve this revised temporary storage containers policy.
Jules has messaged me voting yes for this item.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I think we're waiting for Andy. Andy, thumbs up if it's not working for you. There you go. Okay. Voting is done, and this also passed 10 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. Thanks, board. And moving along to our third and last order of unfinished business, agenda item 10C. It's for the board to entertain a motion to approve updates to our internal dispute resolution or IDR policy. These updates were recommended by the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee working with our legal team. And last month, the board voted to approve this updated policy forward for 28-day member review and comment. So today, again, we'll be voting as whether or not to accept this revised policy going forward. Michaela, once more, would you please read the resolution before we proceed? Thanks.
Yes. Resolution 0324XX, internal dispute resolution. Whereas Civil Code 5910 establishes requirements for the internal dispute resolution meetings, and whereas the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee recognizes the need to revise the internal dispute resolution to make the process simple for members, and now therefore be it resolved May 21st, 2024, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves the revised internal dispute resolution as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that Resolution 03-2007, adopted January 21st, 2020, is hereby superseded in its entirety and canceled. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve this updated policy before we discuss it further? I'm getting Moon and Ira. Moon for first, Ira seconds. Thanks. Any comments, questions from the board? Okay, again, we talked about this last month. Okay, seeing none. Kayla, no member comments? Okay, so it's now time for us to vote on this one. Again, we're voting to approve this revised policy going forward. Okay, got a movie playing. All right.
And Jules is abstaining.
Okay, thanks for that. SK.
I voted already.
Okay, all right. Yeah. You're just too fast, I guess, SK. All right, so we got 9 yeses, 0 ones, and 1 abstention. So this passes as well. All right, thanks for board for getting us through that unfinished business. And now we're moving on to agenda item 11, which is our new business. And we have 6 items I think we'll be talking about today. Agenda item 11A is for the board to entertain a motion to discontinue obtaining proof of income for co-occupants. These updates were recommended by the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. Today, when someone who owns a home wants to have a roommate, our processes require that the finances of the potential roommate be checked as per our governing documents. This board feels that checking the potential roommate's finances is unnecessary, since the owner is responsible for paying the monthly assessment, and also a waste of time and money for the mutual and all of our members. So working with Third's legal counsel, the board has discussed suspending this process and will be voting today on whether or not to proceed with no longer obtaining proof of income for co-occupants. So Michaela, could you please read the resolution for us?
Sure. A resolution 0324XX, suspend automatic enforcement of proof of income of co-occupants. Whereas Article 2 of the Third Laguna Hills Mutual amended and restated Declaration of Covenants, Conditions and Restrictions, CC&Rs, includes residency restrictions, which provides that in approving or disapproving an application to reside in a condominium, the Board of Directors board shall consider certain standards in qualifying an applicant as a qualifying resident together with all other co-occupants making application concurrently to reside in the same unit shall satisfy the applicable financial qualifications set forth in Section 5 of this Article 2. And whereas it is the board's understanding that the automatic financial approval of co-occupants creates an extensive administrative burden for VMS staff, thereby creating an excessive and unnecessary financial burden to the mutual. And whereas co-occupants of the mutual are not legally financially responsible for the payment of assessments to the mutual. And whereas the board is informed and believes that the collection and analysis of financial information of a co-occupant that will ultimately have no bearing on the mutual's collection enforcement procedures is a burden imposed that far outweighs any benefit. And whereas, in light of the foregoing and upon the advice of the mutual's experts, the board desires to suspend the automatic enforcement of requiring co-occupants to provide proof of income, unless in the triggering event of a rejection of a qualifying resident's application for membership, the qualifying resident requests that the mutual review a co-occupant's financials. Now therefore be it resolved, May 21st, 2024, that the board hereby elects to suspend the automatic enforcement of requiring co-occupants to provide proof of income. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution.
Thank you, Michaela. I should mention that with our board secretary, Chris, being out on vacation, Michaela has generously volunteered to read our resolutions. You're doing a great job. Appreciate it. Don't do too good a job or Chris will want you to read them all going forward. Can I get a motion to approve the discontinuance of obtaining proof of income for co-occupants before we discuss it further? Jim moves. Ira seconds. Okay. Any questions from members of the board? Reza?
So my understanding is that the co-occupant or co-occupants have no financial responsibility to the HOA. Is that correct?
That's
it's
correct.
all owner responsibility.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay. I don't know if there's any member comments on this. Wouldn't think so. Okay. Now time to vote. Then, and again, we're voting to implement this new practice of suspending the obtaining of proof of income for co-occupants going forward.
Jules, may I get your vote?
I vote yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought I did.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jules. Okay.
I forgot to hit enter.
Okay. Can barely hear you, but hear you good enough. All right. So this motion passes 10-0-0. Thanks, Jeff, for being ready to answer questions. And we will move on to agenda item 11B, which is for the board to entertain a motion to approve the revision of standard 47 for bathroom splits. These updates were recommended by the ACSC, and today we will be voting as to whether or not to submit this updated standard forward for a 28-day member review and comment period. Does anyone from staff have any opening comments for us regarding this updated standard? Good morning, Alan.
Good morning. Just a quick summary overview. The old standard had specific requirements as to sizing, types of piping, which became cumbersome. Rather, we're deferring to the member must meet whatever is current in code, so allowing them that flexibility. We also defined what exactly is a bathroom split when somebody applies for it, so there's a little more clarity there. And we've also provided a sample floor plan to make it easier to understand what is involved and what that may look like.
Okay.
So if you have questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Okay. All right. have a seat. It looks like we don't go too far. Once we proceed, we might have some more. Can I get a motion to place this updated policy on 28-member review? Andy moves, Jim seconds. Thank you both. Any questions from members of the board? Okay. To put this on to 28-member review and comment period? Okay, seeing none. Any member comments? Michaela, none? All right. So it's time for us to vote. We're voting to whether or not to submit this updated standard forward for 28-member review and comment for bathroom splits. Appreciate the board members all reviewing their agenda packets in advance.
And Jules voted yes as well.
Okay, thanks. All right, so this passed 10-0-0. So this is going on 28-member review and comment period. Thanks, board. Agenda item 11C is for the board to entertain a motion to appoint Jeff Spies, Patty Curzette, and Catherine Laster as authorized agents to sign documents. By means of an official operating procedure, Third Mutual appoints certain employees of VMS to sign specific documents on behalf of the board of directors, mainly due to the volume of those documents. And the volume has necessitated the board's delegation of signing some of these documents to a small select group. There's some changes in the current group. One of the current signers is retiring at the end of this month, so the purpose of this is to kind of appoint some new members of the team. Michaela, could you please read the resolution for us before we proceed with the discussion?
Yes. Resolution 0324XX, appoint Jeff Spies, Patty Curzette, and Catherine Laster as authorized agents for the purpose of signing specific documents. Whereas the lease and rental permit applications and their respective renewals, extensions, and addendums, and simple trust transfers are signed on a daily basis on behalf of the corporation. And whereas the volume of such applications has necessitated the board's delegation of signing the applications to select trusted staff persons as authorized agents. Now therefore be it resolved May 21st, 2024, that the board of directors of this corporation hereby authorizes Jeff Spies, Patty Curzette, and Catherine Laster as authorized agents to sign on behalf of the corporation to approve/deny the following: lease and rental permit applications and their respective renewals, extensions and addendums, and simple trust transfers effective June 1st, 2024. And resolve further that Resolution 03-1708, approved January 24th, 2017, is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
All right, thank you. Can I get a motion to place the authorized agents, to appoint them before we discuss it further? Brad moves and Moon seconds. Thank you. Let me take a glass of water. Any comments, questions from the board? Okay. A fairly straightforward request. No member comments. Okay, it's time for us to vote.
And Jules voted yes for this item as well.
Thank you. All right. So this passed 10 yeses, noes, and no abstentions. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 11D is for the board to approve updated committee assignments. There's one change this month, and that is to replace Peggy Moore with new director David Vieneman on GRF's Select Audit Committee. Can I get a motion to approve the updated committee assignments before we discuss them further? Ira moves, Brad seconds. Thank you. Any questions from members of the board? Okay. Seeing none. Any member comments? All right, just making sure. Time to vote on whether or not to approve these committee assignments.
Okay, and Jules is opposed.
Okay, great, thank you. So this passed 9 yeses, 1 no, and 0 abstentions. Thank you, board, and thanks for, again, reading your agenda package. We're moving right along. It's all good stuff. All right, so things will slow down perhaps a little bit here. Agenda item 11E is for the board to have an open discussion regarding third board's thoughts on what VMS's priorities should be for the upcoming several months. Tomorrow, it's my understanding that the VMS board, along with VMS management, will be getting together to discuss VMS's strategic priorities for the next year or so. The VMS board has requested input from the third board regarding our expectations as to what we would like VMS's top 3 or 4 strategic priorities to be. I thought I'd start this discussion by sharing my thoughts, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the board for their thoughts and comments. The 4 priorities that I will be sharing are also expectations that I have of VMS. They overlap somewhat, and I'm presenting them in no particular order. The first one I'm suggesting is provide exceptional communication to all owners and residents. Here's a few more details about what I mean by that. First of all, I think VMS should be providing to everyone service level targets for the resolution of all tickets and the types of work that VMS does. I believe they're working on that, but we need to all understand if we create a ticket, what we should expect and as to how long it's going to take to get it resolved. Is that 1 week? Is that 1 month? Is that 1 year? That kind of thing. And we as a board need to understand that, because as we put together the budget, we need to fully understand the level of service that we're paying for. Another thing under exceptional communication is, one of the things I'd like to see is when somebody creates a ticket, is that once that ticket gets to the appropriate department, the department that's going to actually perform and execute the ticket, that an email is sent to the requester letting them know that it got to the appropriate department and clarify what the target resolution time frame is. I'd like to see that when staff goes out to perform a ticket, that staff does their best to try to meet with the resident who created the ticket, the requester, to make sure that they have an even match of what was requested versus what the person is going to be doing to perform that ticket. If no one's available, leave a door hanger that, hey, this is what I came out to do something, this is what I did. If the ticket is not going to be completed within the time frame that it was supposed to be, I'd like an email sent. So if ticket is supposed to be resolved in a week and after a week it hasn't been worked on, it'd be nice to get an email to let me know that it hasn't been forgotten, but it's just running late, and maybe what the new target time frame is. Also would like to see that once the ticket is completed, an email is sent to the requester to let them know it's completed. I think today a lot of times staff goes out, works on something, and the requester is not aware that it's been done, and that leads to some confusion and frustration for people. Not regarding tickets, one of the key complaints I hear as president is that there's a lot of documentation that might be shared with members, and that documentation might say, hey, if you have questions about this, please call this number. Members call that number, leave a voicemail, and then never hear back. So I'd like staff to really focus that when somebody leaves a voicemail, or if resident services or some other team says, hey, we'll call you back, or somebody will call you back, that indeed does happen within, I would say, 1 working day. That would be my goal. And also, lastly, if something unusual is happening in or around a manor, I'd like to let the residents know in advance, or when it's being done, like a door hanger, to let them know versus not saying anything. For the most part, I think that's being done. If we fumigate a house, if we're painting a house, that kind of thing, we do let residents know. But periodically, things happen. Recently, Old Toro Water District wanted to do something in around somebody's manor, so a hole was dug, and the residents didn't know about it, and they felt that landscaping was doing a lousy job of landscaping because they left a hole in the middle of the lawn. Had we mentioned that to the residents, there would be less frustration, confusion. So again, number 1, provide exceptional communication to all owners and residents. The next one on my list is provide excellent service to all owners and residents. One of my mantras has been do the job right the first time. It is ultimately, in my opinion, less expensive to do the job right the first time than to come back out and then do it a second time or a third time or a fourth time if that's what it takes. Hopefully staff is looking at it when they're performing work as though they're doing the work for their parents. So have that kind of mentality in mind. Excellent service includes excellent customer service. So we expect staff to always present a pleasant, patient, positive attitude. Treat our residents as customers, or better yet, your favorite aunt or uncle, versus a bothersome senior. Most staff members do this already, but in my role as president, I've heard of more situations than I'd like to where residents have felt they've been treated less than respectfully. We want all staff to provide help. If they can't, find somebody who can and help ensure follow-up is done. Work to exceed rather than just meet expectations. Keep your word. Help customers help themselves by having more online information that is easy to find and easy to understand. So that's provide excellent service to all owners and residents. My third priority would be reduce the cost of providing the same services. This concept is standard with high-performing organizations. When I worked in high tech, one of my annual objectives every year was to deliver more at a lower cost than the previous year. And that was something that I was expected to do, and all of my fellow managers were expected to do for their organizations as well. Always thinking about how you can do more with less. Benchmarking your services against other vendors to ensure that the services are being provided at a competitive cost. Outsourcing services where that could provide reduced costs or better services for the same costs. Using technology to help streamline and measure operations. So those things come to mind for me. And my last priority that I wanted to raise is implement proactive actions to minimize, if not eliminate, common or expensive issues. So I would expect staff to be analyzing tickets to identify common or really expensive to the mutual issues. Perform root cause analysis to determine what situations are causing those issues. Work with appropriate experts to identify and implement corrective actions. And similarly to what I mentioned before, resolving issues before they happen is essentially less expensive than waiting for them to happen and then addressing them after the fact. And fewer issues will mean happier owners and residents. Now, again, I realize some of these are already being worked, and I appreciate that, and I hope that they will continue to be worked aggressively. I also understand that it's possible that my asking VMS to focus on these things, or us asking VMS if we so choose, might cost more money than we're currently paying. If that's the fact, or if that is the case, my expectation would be that VMS would bring recommendations forward regarding how these could be addressed, how much it would cost, and let the board decide whether we want to spend the money versus not doing what we're requesting and asking for. So those are mine. And now I open up to the rest of the board to make their comments and share their thoughts. Andy?
I apologize. I have a written version of this with all this paper, I neglected to bring it. Okay. I will get that to you. All right. Building on a background of strategic planning and also as a management consulting, advocating strategic planning ideas, I come up with a few things. And based on my observation and interaction with all the stuff that we see, I've got a few. The first one, and drawing on my accounting background, accounting is the language of business. I believe, and this is how I've written it, implement standard direct cost system to manage man-hours needed to deliver specific goods and services, deliverables, aggregated at a meaningful level, both for internal improvement and for mutual benefit. We do have a lot of cost accounting information, and the thing that seems to be driving it is man-hours. So the guts of the system is there, and I'd like to see it improved. Secondly, add key performance indicators, KPIs, for labor utilization and other labor effectiveness measures. In this particular organization we have here, it's a service organization, so it's based on hours billed. And we have so many available hours, productive hours. How much of that do we bill out? How can we increase the number of productive hours? Next, we go on to specify for mutual budgeting and reporting the required VMS labor input and man-hours by major activity for services contracted for on an annual basis. So really, third is buying hours for delivery of services and products. So we need to know what's involved. For example, our budgets are based on a certain number of people being on board. You know, we have, I think 16, we're short 16 people, something like that. Well, our budgets are based on us having those 16 people. Well, what happens when we don't? Something's got to give. And for example, if we find out that, and I'm just pulling this out of the air, we need 40,000 labor man-hours to do the mowing, and now we only have 36,000 available, for argument's sake, what does that mean? So I think it's important to know for budgeting and reporting the hours that are involved. Next, implement rationale with mutual input to allocate available man-hours output when there is a labor shortage versus what was budgeted and contracted for. In other words, I believe the mutuals ought to be involved in redirecting VMS resources when there's a shortfall. So prioritization, that's what it is. And I think the mutuals need to be more involved in it. Next, and this is a board design thing, establish board-level committees to leverage board expertise and availability. Potentially, and I know they have this already, executive, but adding compensation, audit, and an operations committee, supplement with mutual board or member advisors who sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, because this is all confidential stuff. It has to be held at arm's length. Just two more. Produce and analyze comparison metrics on an ongoing basis to other large senior living communities. Identify best practices and advocate new products and methods, ideas to better serve the mutual's needs. Right now, it seems like the mutuals are being expected to come up with ideas. We're amateurs in this stuff. We really are. So we want the professionals to come up with some ideas, and then we'll talk about it. Finally, develop a facilities master plan covering 3 years out or more to optimally configure, use, and add to the physical facilities inventory throughout the village. And this is, even though I know GRF owns the assets, I think we need a space planning function within VMS that's dedicated, not just part of someone's job description, but a major part of a particular position. Having gone through this recently with the Building E committee, I think there's a need, a big need for better space planning design within VMS. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Anybody, Ira?
Well, I'm just going to dovetail on the communication aspect. I think not only for residents and ownership, I've gotten a number of emails over the years and residents coming forward because interdepartmental communications have not been as good as they need to be for many of the residents. As an example, slope restoration, where landscaping sends out their need to M&C for engineering, but there's a seemingly no communication with the residents that are tired of looking at plastic on the slopes and no idea of when the engineering will come back from M&C for landscaping to go out to bid, or M&C to go out to bid for restoration of this project, and everybody just gets upset and emails start flying. And hopefully that those kind of communications, so there's a timeline internally that can be expressed to the residents and ownership of when these long-term projects are going to get done.
Okay, good, thanks. Any others? Reza?
I agree with all the above, but all the above is possible if we have staff that can perform. So one of the charges I would ask VMS is to do the best to hire and maintain qualified staff and do the training in order for the staff to be able to provide the services that we're talking about, because it's all done by the employees. So the best employee that we have, the better chance we have to get all these things done. So that's one of the charges I want to ask VMS to focus on, hire and maintain qualified staff.
Good, thanks. Jim?
Yeah, mine also is with communication, not only communication between the departments, because sometimes the simple task overlaps several departments, and sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. So take a perfect example of somebody putting pavers on common area. It deals with alterations, it deals with maintenance and construction, it deals with landscaping, it possibly can deal with plumbing. And so all of those departments have to communicate for something such a simple task. The other thing is when we implement standards, when we implement resolutions, somehow those resolutions need to be communicated to all departments. And all departments need to implement what is contained in those resolutions so that the ball doesn't get dropped. Example of what happened when we changed the working hours. The working hours were changed, everything was done, it didn't get to security. So again, department communication, but also there needs to be set up some type of system whereby all of these resolutions are sent to all departments. Somebody needs to review them and say, hey, we need to change some of the things in our process because now we see these changes. Often what happens is one department changes it in theirs, another department doesn't, and so then there's a conflict when a member goes and says, well, I want to do this, and one department says, oh yeah, you can do that. The other department says, oh no, under our thing you can't, but it's because they haven't updated what's transpired. Okay. So again, communication is by far the most essential thing for VMS to increase.
Okay, thanks. All right, good. David or Brad?
Go ahead. Following up on what Riza was mentioning, one of the things that I want to see is we need to look at adding skilled labor as opposed to our outsource. I think we need to do a better job of make or buy decisions. Should we do this in-house with in-house staff, or should we hire someone to do it on the less skilled type of work, i.e. people mowing yards? I think that can be outsourced easily. Electrical, plumbing, kind of goes back to how do you paint the Golden Gate Bridge? So you start on one end, and by the time you get to the other end, it's time to start over on the other end. So you staff so that you can paint that bridge all the time, right? You're not going and outsourcing different sections of it. There's certain things in our community that we're going to be doing forever. We're going to be epoxy coating piping forever. Why are we outsourcing that? We're going to be putting roofs on forever. Why are we using outside roofing companies? And the other part of that is we need licensed experts for roofing, plumbing, and electrical on staff to be inspecting our internal work and our outside work. As a board director, we're required to rely on professional and expert advice. I find it challenging for VMS to even be able to provide that expert advice without that skilled technical asset on staff. The second thing I had, which involves a relationship more with GRF, is valuation of shared costs. I still think that's something that we need to look at and address. I think that there are absolutely a responsibility for all members of the community to share costs and all the different things that we have available to us. But I think that needs to be studied, looked at. Again, best practices, what does it look like in other 55 and older communities, and make sure that we're applying it so that the people that use those services do pay their fair share, and then the people that live here pay the balance of that. But I think it's kind of all over the board for each of those different activities that we have, and I think that needs to be a more standardized and financial-based approach. So those are the two things or areas that I think are important.
Good. David?
I've got three things. The emphasis that VMS has been placing on metrics and QA in the past year, I think are welcome, and I think they're gonna serve us all well going forward. I'd like to see more benchmarking. Going back to Brad's discussion of the buy versus build decision, benchmarking expected internal cost versus external cost certainly makes it easier for us as a board to evaluate recommendations that are made. The third, again, is communications, a recurring theme this morning. Catherine gave a report to the VMS board several weeks ago in which she pointed out some pretty favorable survey results that they'd taken as part of their QA initiative. But she made a point that I think is well taken. She said the highest number of complaints that VMS gets relate to people simply not understanding how the process works. And I thought that was a very interesting inclusion in that report. And I think that is probably the one area that VMS could really profitably devote some effort in its communications process. It need not be elaborate. It need not be as expensive. It could be as simple as a PDF brochure that's attached to a ticket confirmation email that basically explains for a non-emergency item, it's going to take 30 days. Just a simple matter of managing the customer's expectation at the outset, and that's certainly something that I would very much like to see. And it's no more expensive than a little bit of graphic design, a little bit of writing to attach something to the email that the resident will open up and read, and at least get some idea of what's going on. Thank you.
Thanks. Moon?
Communication is very important, but how you do communicate. One is a lack of communication is a really problem, but how you communicate. A lot of residents, and even we are representing residents, when we go to some of our BMS employee, they don't treat us as customer is a king. They are the king, we are the minnows. If that kind of attitude continues, it's not going to go very well. Okay. So we have problem with that, I think. Second one is, when we have open bidding, whenever we have contract, we are asking BMS to bring it, let's say 3, 4, 5 bidding to us. That is not real open bidding. We are going bottleneck BMS. They are doing open bidding. They may bring, sorry, but it's my suspicion. And let's say I got one brother, one cousin, one my neighbor, 3 biddings coming in. They all do that. So it's not open bidding. So that kind of system is not go very well. And then another one is, so when you have, let's say I have moisture intrusion in my room or in my house, and then BMS is a team of outside bidders. So they are bringing outside bidders whom they already know. So resident does not have any choice to bring it their own liking or that. So BMS bring it's same as open bidding. Your brothers, sisters, and cousins, one of them they bring it in. A lot of business going out, but we don't have any choice to compete, compare, or better quality, less money we don't have any choice. I think that doesn't go very well. In essence, the resident is the king, and the VMS people are working people for the resident. We have to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, yes, Kay, I think it's your turn.
Thank you. I'd like to point out three things. First, VMS needed efficiency improvement. That means to me, entire VMS organization has to be reviewed, the efficiency of all the men and women working. I'm very serious about this. Second, communications. From top to bottom, good organization, top people well know the bottom people working. This organization, I don't see that. Just telling, oh, do this, and then go away for a while. And then it will subdued by itself. No, that concept has to go. Third, we don't have any responsibility to their own mistakes. VMS organization has to come up with a certain system or rules so that any employee make a mistake has to be accounted for. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Kay. All right. Any other comments before we move on? Okay, all right. Thank you, Board, for the discussion. Siobhan and the VMS Board, I'm sure will take our comments into consideration, and I'm expecting that Siobhan will share the priorities that VMS and the VMS Board end up deciding on during next month's board meeting. And we will now move on to agenda item 11F. And that is for the board to entertain a motion to approve a supplemental appropriation for emergency roof repairs. This motion was recommended by Third's Maintenance and Construction Committee and is now coming before the full board to decide upon. Due to the heavy rains experienced in Third Mutual earlier this year, there have been more roof leaks than were planned and budgeted for. As a result, there is a request for a redistribution of reserve funds to support the cost of repairing these additional or excessive roof leaks. The supplemental appropriation does not affect our monthly assessment, but is simply to authorize staff to use some of our over $20 million of reserve funds to pay for the repair of these unexpected roof leaks. Before we move too much further, I'm asking Michaela to read our resolution, please.
Sure. Resolution 0324XX, excuse me, supplemental appropriation for emergency roof repairs. Whereas there are 1,405 housing buildings in Third Mutual with a mixture of flat and sloped roofs, and whereas unusually wet rain seasons in 2023 and 2024 have resulted in an unprecedented number of roof repair requests, and whereas the approved budget allocation for emergency roof repairs in 2024 is $130,000, and whereas a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $300,000 is needed to provide funding to pay for services rendered and anticipated costs for the remainder of 2024. Now therefore be it resolved on May 21st, 2024, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby authorize a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $300,000 to be funded from the reserve fund for an unanticipated emergency roof repairs, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
Thanks again, Michaela, for reading all those for us. I think you're done, so appreciate it. Can I get a motion to approve the supplemental appropriation? Jim moves, Reza seconds. Thank you. Are there any questions of members of the board resolving this request for supplemental appropriation? Yes, Reza?
This, I know that this comes out of the reserve, but this reserve is going to be put back in next year, or what is the plan for reserve as we pull money out of it?
Well, we put money into it constantly. So when you say,
No, what I'm saying, it doesn't impact the amount that goes into the reserve next year. You don't have to up it or down it, or...
we're working on the budget for next year, so we'll figure out how much we want
We'll
to
figure
put.
that around the way. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for the question. SK?
Yes. Is this $300,000 coming from reserve fund? I believe it is the same as last year's emergency fund request. So, can I ask answer to this question? Well, how come it's the same amount as last year? Is it roof leak, same numbers of issues we had, or what?
So
That's my question.
So,
Thank you.
Mr. West, are you here to answer questions on this topic? So the question was just the 300,000, that number was appropriated last year, and now we're
Last
doing
year,
the same
similar
this
number,
year,
yes.
and you're kind of saying, is it just
Same
a swag estimate, or is there some
Right.
logic to where this number comes from?
Right.
Thank you for the question. I appreciate it, and I'm happy to do my best to answer. So we typically, when we're budgeting, we look at prior years, right? So that's how we establish the budget for the following year, and that's how we're forecasting. Unfortunately, as you know, last year we did come and ask for a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $300,000 on top of what was budgeted. That was used. We didn't have any reserve left over from that. We're experiencing the same amount of leaks, the same type of weather, and so therefore we look at the first 3 months. Usually that is the biggest impact because we get more rain during that first 3 months in through March. And then we're looking, okay, what happened last year? Because it seems that the weather, May gray, June gloom, whatever it is, we seem to follow that same pattern. So knowing that we were able to use the $300,000 last year with the same type of weather, we're looking at those same expenditures for this year. And that's how we're basing it. This is forecasting. We don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how many leaks there's going to be, but we are predicting that this year will be the same as last year, and that's why we're asking for that amount. If it doesn't turn out that way, great, you spend less money, but at least we have that money available if it is required.
Or if it turns out worse, you'll come ask for more.
Well, let's hope it doesn't.
Understood. SK, did I answer your question?
Not quite. Then why didn't we appropriate the $300,000 more on this year from last year, because it's the second year consecutive appropriation? And also, is this only for, I'm just saying it, Leonard Roof Company requesting?
Leonard?
Or what?
Lettner, I think.
So we have a contract with Lettner Roofing that goes through, I believe, December of 2025. After that, we'll go back out to bid for contractors. But yes, right now you have a contract with Lettner Roofing, and Lettner does provide the repairs on all the roofs in the community.
And so I think the question was, why didn't, it sounds like perhaps you thought last year was an anomaly, or we all thought, because we helped put together the budget. It may have been a one-off, and now it turns out that, so hopefully we will use this experience. Now we've had 2 wetter years in a row, and hopefully as there's a meeting on Thursday to talk about the M&C budget, hopefully this will come up there as to make sure that we're budgeting the right amount for potential rain leaks.
You're absolutely correct. Again, this was not anticipated for this year, and we go through long periods of drought, and the budget that we have is based on that. But we're looking now from this year, last year, and beyond that we're going to use all of that data for the next budget.
The follow-up question, is that means we did already have all the instance roof leak, right? Am I correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
That means we did have all the roof leak this year.
Yeah, so we have
Okay,
roof
so
leaks.
we have extraordinary amount of the quantity of the roof leaks. So are those being fixed, or is it still vinyl tile. What's the status of those?
No, so
leaks?
we did explain in the report how those leaks are addressed. I can go over that with you. So a resident will experience a leak. They'll make a call or put to resident services. Resident services will enter a ticket into our system. We receive that ticket. We either go out ourselves, or if it's a rain event, we send Lettner out, and then they cover it. Then they come back when the weather is better, and they repair it. And then we receive those bills for that. I mean, that's how it works.
So I was under the impression that SK was asking, are there leaks not being fixed as a result of not having this $300,000?
Oh,
or
no,
are we
you can
staying on
see-
top of them to date?
No, we stay on top of them. We can't let a resident go with a leak in their roof, so we go out there and we repair that leak. There are costs that you can see that we incurred that we don't have budgeting for, and that's what we're trying to reconcile that now.
Okay, so essentially we're over budget now. We're trying to
We are over
get
budget.
back. Does that help you, SK?
Yeah, a little bit, but that means Lettner, they expend their own money to fix our roof so far.
Yeah, so
Is that
Lettner
what you're
always
saying?
spends their own money to fix the roof. Then they bill us for it, and then we pay them back.
Okay.
That's how contracting works.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Andy, it looked like you had a question or comment?
Yeah, I think we're talking in part about preventative maintenance. And so, you have a leak and you address it. There's a plus to that because it does extend the life of the roof somewhat, you would think, to some degree, Guy. Is that correct?
Yeah, so.
A repair is not just money out the door. There is actually a benefit in that you address some physical product but I'm a little concerned about moisture intrusion. So leaks cause moisture intrusion, correct?
They can, yes.
They
That's
can.
Correct.
So all these leaks, it's not related, I guess, but all these leaks, are they resulting in more moisture intrusion?
So the lids mostly, so if you have a leak and it drips onto your drywall ceiling, then that area would need to be cut out and replaced.
And I know the longer, the worse it gets. So
Right.
a leak is good in a way because you have to address it versus being something sinister happening over and over. I'm just wondering, are we going to see an increase in moisture intrusion expenses because of this? You'd think you would.
I'm not aware of what they're budgeting for. This may,
Okay.
depending on the amount of leaks that they have with plumbing and other issues that, have moisture intrusion, so.
Okay, so there could be an effect.
It
related.
could be an effect, but I don't know. I'm sorry,
Okay,
I don't have that
fine.
answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would expect, as you say, that it is would be some impact. And my understanding is that moisture intrusion are paid for out of our disaster fund, which is very large currently. So they probably won't be asking for more money to but we'll see. Anybody else? Moon?
Yeah. What the cause of a leak or roof leak? Is that a lot of people I saw, they put the solar panel or whatever that they break the roof and even the solar tube and all that. Is that the leak or our building is getting old? We have problem with it?
So
Or-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, we do track. So we're tracking the leaks, we're tracking the buildings. We're looking at when those buildings were replaced last, what's the age of the roof, what is the damage, what's causing the leak. We look at all of that. We pull a lot of this data together so that when we're looking at the roofs, when it's time for replacement, that we have this data to support whether it needs to be replaced or not. Right now, we are experiencing, there's two types of roof that I noticed the cost is much higher than a lot of the other roofs. So one of those roofs is the lightweight tile roof. And we've brought this to the attention of the board in previous years that roof system is failing earlier than anticipated. It was, put on 20 years ago. They thought it would last 30 to 40 years. And it's not. It's failing. That system is failing. That's one of the areas. So what we've asked the board, and what we brought to the board was, look, we recognize that these roofs are failing early, so we want to start the replacement program earlier. And at that time, the board decided to remove some funding from the PVC roofs that we're putting on and redirect some of those funds so that we can start on the lightweight tile roofs. One of the other things that we're noticing on the concrete tiles, which is a normal weight tile roof, the underlayment is failing. So when we go out there, the tiles are fine, but when we peel those tiles back, we notice that there's a felt. That's the industry standard for a slope roof underneath these concrete tiles, is they put this felt. That's the moisture barrier. And that felt is failing on a lot of these. And so that's what we're finding when we go out there. And it's on a few style of these types of buildings. It's not on every normal weight tile roof, but what we're identifying now through collecting this data is that we have the Seville style and the Catalina style is really where we're looking at this problem with the felt. And so we're going to start looking at how we can address those. There's 11 Seville style buildings and there are 78 Catalina style buildings. Not all of them are experiencing this leak issue, but with all the leaks that we've had this year, we've noticed that those are they're ranking. So if in the first 3 months, by the way, because that's what the data we had originally brought forward, I'm showing 30% of the cost, 37% of the cost for these repairs is on the lightweight tile roofs, and it looks like 34% are on the normal weight tile roofs. So that's 70% of the funding that's going out paying for these leaks. So those are areas that we need to start looking at and maybe put on a program for replacement. And again, this has only been noticed during these heavy rains. So maybe there's another issue or a problem that we can identify that's causing this.
No, let me.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I haven't finished. I'm sorry. Okay. Our technology improved. So building is getting old, 50 to 70 years old building. So we're going to have more problems because of that. But whenever we fix it or repair or planning to improve it, technology has been improved. It didn't make any difference? Second question is, are we expecting more this kind of problem or lesser problem because of technology improving?
So as far as these roofs, the concrete tiles, the normal weight, they're not failing. They're lasting. So they'll last 60 years or better, in some cases, depending. There may be breaks now and then. Someone gets up on the roof and may break a tile, and then we find it later. But where the technologies come into place is on that underlayment. Remember I said that the industry standards of felt, well, they've come out with synthetic. But right now, the difference in the life expectancy of felt and synthetic, not that far off. So it's not a great improvement. So we would have to look at a cost analysis. Is it really worth getting 5 more years? And what is the cost to get that 5 more years if that's the life expectancy on the synthetic paper? So, and that's like a polymer that's woven together, whereas the felt, I think it's like, what is that? That's a polypropylene that's put together on a felt paper. And that's what's used. That's the industry standard. You'll find that on every roof. And what happens is that breaks down. Just like the stucco system, you have a barrier, a vapor barrier, which is a paper, and it's rated to withstand moisture for a certain period of time. So you have like a 30-minute paper that they put behind the stucco because the water goes through that system and then falls down to the bottom of the wall up against this vapor barrier. That barrier is rated for 30 minutes. So if somehow water gets trapped in that wall between the stucco and the vapor barrier, the water will eventually penetrate, and that's where you'll find where we get this dry rot if it's on the seal at the bottom. And the way to avoid that is that you have a drip system. So the water goes down in between the stucco, up against the paper, it goes down, and you have an area at the bottom of the wall where the water could come out. If you bury that, no longer can the water come out. So we have to identify those problematic areas and find a corrective measure for that type. Otherwise, the other issue is the paper eventually wears out. It just wears because of life, and that could be 30 years. And so a lot of these buildings that are 60 years old, we're noticing that the vapor barrier, or that water barrier, is disintegrating on a lot of these. So that could allow for moisture to get in. So we look at all of this, and we bring that data together to try to come up with solutions that are economical. That's what we do.
Brad?
Just to follow up on what he's saying, outside of the gates, this felt and underlayment is a huge issue in all of Southern California for buildings from the 60s through about the mid-90s. Because what happens is when you're putting a roof on, you put the underlayment on, and then you stack the tiles on pallets up there so that you have a load that it gets used to. But if you leave it like that for a month or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, the UV is deteriorating that underlayment, and that's what happened. Back in those days when it really didn't rain here that often, they would leave them out for months, and then they'd finally put the tiles on. And we're seeing that everywhere right now outside of the gates, is that roofs are failing because of that underlayment, as the UV just destroyed it.
Good. All right.
That's right. So very good point, and that's absolutely correct. And that was an industry standard at the time when they were doing the roofs. But even now, if there's broken tile and it's not reported and nobody sees it, eventually the UV rays can get to that paper. And that's why we find these areas where there's just a spot leak, so we can go up and fix that. We actually double up the paper, so we put 2 layers of the felt paper on. That's our standard now. But that's where you'll find these leaks. So when we say, hey, we found a leak and we fixed it, typically it's because a broken tile allows for the UV rays to get to the paper, which it normally wouldn't, and then that paper breaks down. And over time, we end up with a leak on that. So that's a very good point.
Yeah. Reza?
Just a quick question. Any of these leaks fall within the warranty of the roofs?
No. So very good question. We don't have that. So the newest roofs that we're putting on are PVC, and the only damage that we find on the PVC, which is very minimal, is when someone gets up on the roof and does work, and they either drop a tool or they're cutting something. We don't know. It's unknown. We don't know who did it, but we take photographs of it to identify those damage. But as far as the system itself, the seams and everything else about the system, we don't see any failures.
Great. Okay. Well, Brett, what?
Matt, typically roof warranties are manufacturer warranties, not installers. So once you put a roof up, you'll have the manufacturer will send inspectors out to make sure that it's being put on properly. But there's nobody that's putting them out over 20 years unless, there's some new technology, and I've asked Manny to put together a spreadsheet of all the roofs when they were done, maintenance, all that kind of stuff, so we can take a more of a scientific approach to how we go about replacing the roofs or what new technology is available and whether it's worth it or not.
Good. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it. Jim?
And you've taken one step where you double felt, so that's a good step. But there's a third step you could take, is take 80-pound roll roofing and put underneath, and then you hardly ever have a problem.
Correct. And that method has been used on some of the buildings here, but you're right. There's an extra cost to that.
Okay. And again, as I mentioned before, if that extra, if that extra cost will make these roofs last for longer and minimize leaks and expenditures and frustration and for our members, bring it to us so that we at least understand what it is. We can vote yes or no to spend it, but don't assume that we're tight with money and we won't want to spend. We're expecting you guys to bring solutions forward to us, even if they cost, and let us decide.
Thank you. So with the lightweight tile, we have been bringing more and more. We were asked to keep the budget level at one time.
At one time.
We didn't want spikes because for the lightweight tile, all of those roofs, I think there were 370 roofs, somewhere around that number. They were done in 3 years. Imagine trying to do 370 roofs today, what that cost would be. So We try to level that out. We try to, so that we're not experiencing too many leaks, but at the same time, we're allowing those roofs to go to the longest life that we can get out of them.
Okay, appreciate it. Okay, thanks. All right. It's now time to vote, unless there's any member comments. So, okay, so it's time to vote. Again, we're voting on whether to approve the supplemental appropriation of $300,000 from our existing funds to another one. All right. The motion's not up.
Granicus did restart, so if I could actually have everyone raise their hand.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
all in favor of this, please raise your hands so that Michaela and Paul can see and count. Okay. Okay. And so looks like everybody, SK, you voting no? No? Okay. And-
Okay, SK, you're voting no?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
And Jules, are you voting yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we're good, I think. All right, so if I understand correctly, we're 9 yeses, 1 no, and 0 abstentions. Okay, that's fine. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thanks, board. We've finished our new business. Now we're moving on to agenda item 12, which is where this board will share our monthly committee status updates, starting with a report of the Finance Committee. Andy?
Okay, Michaela, we all set on the slides?
Yes, I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. The first slide we're looking at is a very high level, it's the top level, in fact. Look at the operations by itself, and it shows that revenues were roughly 10.9 million. Non-assessment revenues were roughly $1 million for a total revenue of 11.9 million. Total expenses were 9.6 million, so that left an excess of revenue over expense of 2.3 million. Okay, move on to slide number 2. Slide number 2 actually deals with the operating statement, so it's a subset of the first slide. And the operating fund shows a surplus of $173,000 through the reporting period, the 3-month period. The chart shows how much of our revenue went into operations, with $6.94 million coming in from assessments and $651,000 coming from non-assessment revenue. This is compared to operating expenditures, expenses, if you will, of $7.41 million, and that excludes depreciation. Next, we go to slide 3. Slide 3 takes the full income statement and compares those results to budget. We can see that third ended the period worse than budget by $505,000 when combining both operating and reserve revenues and expenses. And the reason that happens is that reserve expenditures tend to be tied into the weather more than operating expenditures. And a lot of it is timing, but there are some other concerning items which we'll cover later. Next, we move on to slide 4, which is the variances from budget. As you can see, outside services, $437,000 favorable, is primarily found in landscape and maintenance and construction due to the timing of work and invoices compared to an even budget spread. It's partly due to the way the budget is spread out, which is pretty much evenly, and we know weather is not even. Impacted programs include prior to paint landscaping, preventive roof repairs, tree maintenance, and copper pipe remediation. Staff anticipates prior to paint landscaping expenses beginning to come in by June 2024. Again, landscaping is, you can't work in the rain. These favorable programs are partially offset by the waistline replacement program as a result of the work being completed faster than the budget spread it out. So 3 out of the 7 buildings, roughly 40%, were completed in 2024 compared to maybe a third in the budget, or quarter rather in the budget. Employee compensation and related expenses, $337,000 favorable. This resulted primarily, again, in the landscaping and maintenance construction departments due to open positions. Impacted areas includes grounds maintenance, paint, and carpentry. Recruitment is in process to fill open positions. Grounds maintenance contracted shrub bed maintenance to outside vendors for the pruning weeding cycle as they continue to fill open positions. I'd just like to point out that the corollary to this is outside services, and everybody's having trouble hiring people. So you got to cut people some slack if you can't get the people to do it. All I can tell you is we're trying. Next, we move on to investment income, which is $201,000 favorable. And these are the treasury notes that we invest in primarily for our $30 million roughly reserve balances. The investments have averaged a rate of return of 5% compared to a budgeted rate of return of 2.5%. Now that's different from last year where the spread was actually greater. So we've tightened the budget up a bit, and compared to last year, that variance is actually lower. Next, we go on to legal fees, which are $97,000 unfavorable. And the unfavorable variance was primarily due to higher number of resident-related cases than anticipated. Finally, we talk about fees and charges to residents, $426,000 unfavorable. As you know, we're currently involved in a catch-up program to recover monies that were resident responsibilities that the mutual paid several years ago for water intrusion and the like. And what's happened is we had less damage restoration hearings, and the process, due process, requires, where appropriate, that we bring the residents in and we have a hearing. We haven't had as many of those as we expected, so we have a bit of a backlog, and we're working on it diligently to come back to schedule. All right, next we'll move on to slide 5. On this slide, we chart our non-assessment revenues earned to date by category and compare them to the current year's budget and the prior year's year-to-date actuals. Our largest revenue-generating categories on March 31, 2020 were resident maintenance fees, investment income, and sales and leasing fees. Non-assessment revenues totaled $1.02 million through the reporting period. You have to remember, non-assessment revenues reflect a shortfall in the resident damage restoration backlog collections. Okay, now we'll go on to slide number 6. On this slide, we chart our expenses to date by category and compare them to the current year's budget and prior year's year-to-date actuals. The largest expense categories for the 3 months were employee compensation and related insurance, which includes largely property insurance, and outside services. Expenses totaled $9.63 million for the period. Next, we go on to slide number 7. The non-operating fund balance on March 31st, 2024 was $35.02 million. Year-to-date contributions and interest were $4.28 million, while year-to-date expenditures were $2.19 million. Referring back to an earlier slide, most of the increase in our current, our surplus, as it were, has gone into the reserve funds in one fashion or another. Next, we move on to slide number 8, which is the comparison of the non-operating fund balances to historical fund balances for the past 5 years, which has averaged about $31.4 million. The Third Mutual has been committed to supporting reserve requirements and having more contingency funds for unexpected events. But you can see a basic replacement fund is growing nicely, and that's just a survival thing. We need to keep up with inflation. Everything costs more, so we're trying to offset inflation. And I think the results show that we do have a consistent method to do so, and that should be of some comfort to the residents. Finally, slide number 9, we have the resale history from 2022 through 2024 by month. Through the first quarter of this year, third resales totaled 72, which is 2 resales higher than the prior year for the same time period. The average year-to-date resale price for a third mutual manor was $578,000, which is $71,000 higher than the prior year for the same period. I can tell you, because I have to sign off on this stuff as treasurer, when people are coming in here, the resales have rebounded nicely, and it has a lot of effects. GRF, for one, gets a $7,500 amount from those resales, but it also takes care of a lot of problems. And we've seen resales rebound, and I think that's a good thing. And that finishes my report about the slides. I do want to point out that we will be meeting next week. We'll be week following. We'll be meeting June 4th at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom, and that's to go over these same results, but also to look over our investment policy for the roughly $30 million, or actually, $30 million, $32 million that we have in investments in treasury bills. We're going to be talking about our policy in extending or in renewing those notes as they come up for renewal, whether we should go long or continue with our current policy, which is a laddering policy. So I hope you all can come to the meeting on June 4th at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom. Thank you.
Great, thanks for that update, Andy. Appreciate it. Next, we'll have the ACSC. Jim?
Yeah, the committee met on May 13th, 2024. We continue to update our standards to comply with current and future building codes. Yesterday, we had a workshop with staff to establish necessary steps for alterations information available from the HOA. It was very successful in finding all the different levels where we could search for that information. Along with that, Alterations is developing a flow chart to show all the behind-the-scenes work that's done by staff, which justifies the hours that are being charged for the first inspection from records. Again, we just keep moving forward, trying to make everything more open, more visible, more accessible to the members. And members that are selling can get a request for records. So it's a very comprehensive request for records. It may cost some for that, but that's done through resident services, not through alterations. And that's one of the things where we need to work together with alterations and resident services to know that we're not duplicating the same service. Our next meeting will be on June 10th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom and as a virtual meeting.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. What's new regarding the third Maintenance and Construction Committee? Brad?
Yes, so we held our meeting on Monday, May 6th. I think there are a few minor things, but there are a couple things that are pretty important I think we need to talk about. There's a couple different products that are having incredible price increases on them, which will affect the budget. You know, when you look at the roofing budget, obviously, past practice of installation coupled with changing the weather and tons of rain obviously is causing that model to change, and what our costs on roofing are going to change. But a couple of them that came up, one is asphalt, which I think is important that we had discussed. They had originally budgeted to replace 5 cul-de-sacs this year. They've narrowed it down to 3 because of the astronomical increase in asphalt. Apparently they were buying from a manufacturing plant in Irvine that was closed for state requirements, and now they're buying out of a plant in Riverside that's way more expensive. The typical life cycle on the asphalt is 25 years. On the 3 cul-de-sacs they've identified to replace, one is 20 years old, one's 31, and one's 34. And SK actually was gracious enough to go and take a look at all 3 of them. This might be an area where we have an opportunity to save some money by deferring that cost. Really, our asphalt looks pretty darn good. They replaced my cul-de-sac last year, and it looked really good before they did. I just don't think we cause as much wear and tear on asphalt as you might typically see in other areas. We also do a sealant on it, which is a fairly affordable treatment every 7 years, which gives it extended life. But we currently have about $300,000 budgeted for those 3 cul-de-sacs. We might be able to drop that back to the 2 that are older, or even just push it back for a year or 2 as we have other expenses coming up. The second area that had a rather large increase is on the company that's doing the epoxy coating on the 3-story buildings. The cost of materials for that has grown tremendously. There were also, when they bid that work, there were portions of it that they didn't actually account for, like if there's a tree limb or root system that's causing damage and they have to replace or repair that, they didn't put into the contract a way to accommodate for that. They're in the 3rd year of a 5-year contract. They were scheduled to do 9 buildings this year. We voted 2-1 in committee to recommend that they do 7 rather than 9 this year, and that we look at spending the rest of this year preparing to either go out to bid, since the pricing increase has changed so dramatically compared to when the original contract was started. Or the other thing I asked Manny to look into is how do we either buy a company that does this or acquire that skill set through hiring employees and material to start doing this ourselves, because this is not a project that's going to go away. It's going to be a long-term project. So those were 2 main areas I think are important that we look at the full board level.
Okay, great. And when is this committee going to next meet? Do you have that off the top of your head?
I do not.
Okay, I believe it's Monday, July 1st at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom. So thanks. Okay, thanks.
If I may, make a comment for that?
You can.
MNC?
Sure.
Okay. Originally, MNC came up with 5 CDS, the
Cul-de-sacs.
cul-de-sac pavements, and I went through all 5 of them, not only once, but twice, because this is subjective matters. Whether somebody says, yeah, I need to replace it, but somebody said, yeah, it can go a couple more years. In that respect, it's subjective matters, no matter what kind of numbering system they come up with. But based on my judgment, it can be patched up where the bad section is, and the seal coat, and then we can save $300,000 easily. So that's my recommendation for the seal coat.
Okay, thanks. All right, next we'll hear about the landscape committee. Ira?
So the Landscape Committee met on Thursday, May 2nd here in the boardroom, and basically it started off with a partial report from Kurt about problem ficus trees. We were focusing on problem trees, trying to get ahead of damage caused by some of these trees that should never have been put where they are. And with the ficus, they cause a tremendous amount of damage with regards to sidewalks, foundations, and streets. And we're trying to develop a plan. The Great Scott came up with 80 trees that will be put in the budget, and we'll try to get some kind of a program going to get ahead of this so we can avoid the damage of replacing sidewalks, replacing foundations, replacing sometimes damaged garages from these trees, and replace them with trees more appropriate for the areas where roots go down rather than out, and use less water, less maintenance, and will lower costs, and we'll get a payback over time. So that's one of the big things going on. The training for the crew is continuing. Also, there's been some additional training, not just from the Greenicus program, but also in-house when needed, which is a real positive thing. As well as the other major topic was more AB 1572 strategies to pull out the turf required by us. And plans are still formulating. Hopefully, we'll start with Gate 14, which is simpler, easier. We do have some plans from the landscape architect for some of the areas around the buildings, but they have more larger turf areas to deal with. That will be, I don't want to use the word simpler, but easier to deal with than, let's say, Gate 11, where everything is very small and is going to be a little bit more complicated, which we also do have plans for. There was a quality control presentation that was given, and we do have as was mentioned earlier, a quality control person on board now with certain criteria that they're looking at, what the crew does, and hopefully this will increase customer satisfaction throughout the village and provide for less problems moving forward, so we don't get as many complaints, therefore less issues, less staff time. Hopefully we'll save money and be just a very positive thing. The date of the next meeting is Thursday, June 6th, here in the boardroom at 9:30.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ira. And what's the latest regarding the Water Conservation Committee, Jules?
Can you hear me?
Barely. Let's see if we can turn you up here.
The Water Committee has been busy. The current issue of the Breeze contains our 3-page mini manual containing dozens of helpful ways of saving water. Anyone interested in a much more complete list can write me at jzalon@zalinoffice.com, and I'll send them the entire manual. At our April 25th meeting, the committee got an earful from Shirley Lee, a water conservation expert with Cutting Edge, a local landscaper. Shirley outlined California's model water efficient landscape ordinance, which provides subsidies and credits and rebates for a wide assortment of water-saving projects. Traditional items like turf conversion, but also installation of individual meters, sensors that shut off leaky toilets, master valve and flow sensing systems, and smart controllers. Essentially anything that will conserve water. The next step is to review with our landscape department possible projects that would qualify for rebates and credits. So stay tuned. The next meeting is on Thursday, July 25th at 2 p.m. right here in the boardroom. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jules. And for Third Mutual, our final committee to discuss today is the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. This committee last met on Tuesday, April 23rd. During that meeting, the committee continued its discussion regarding the financial qualifications for purchasing a manor within Third Mutual. We're reviewing the financial qualifications to make sure that they make sense. Many of them were put into place 20 years ago and might need to be updated a little bit, so we're looking at that. We also started discussing the potential implications of reducing Third's leasing cap from 30%, which is what it is now, down to 25%. Just something that the board has been talking about, so we're working with staff to understand what the process implications might be to that, as well as what the pluses and other values and pros and cons, I guess, would be. And we also talked about Third's traffic rules and regulations. This committee will next meet on Wednesday, May 29th, which is next Wednesday, here in the boardroom at 9:30 a.m. We plan to continue our discussion regarding the financial qualifications for purchasing a manor within Third Mutual, reducing Third's leasing cap from 30% down to 25%, and Third's traffic rules and regulations. We also plan to review the committee charter and rules for board meetings during that meeting. So that is all we have for Third Mutual committees. Now we'll move on to agenda item 13, where we'll share our monthly GRF committee status updates, starting with the GRF Space Planning Ad Hoc Committee. Andy?
Thank you, Mark. The committee last met on May 1st of this year in the auditorium at the PAC, because it was a very spirited meeting. And of the approximately 200 people that showed up, it was obvious that the audience did not really represent, in my opinion, the village, but people came there because of certain beliefs. Two proposals were presented at the meeting. One was to replace Building E at a lesser scale than it was originally proposed. It's basically a security facility. The second proposal had some movement around utilizing a space that's vacant right now, getting us out of lease space, and generally improving the flow of activities in the village. So what's happened is that the ad hoc committee, and I believe it's being dissolved, really focused on two options, one of them being replace Building E with a lesser structure, and the second one, which is a multitask kind of thing, moving people around and repurposing certain areas. Those two options are moving on to review by the GRF board. The second option did not have access to staff, so it doesn't have reliable pricing on it. So the idea is to be apples and apples. Both proposals have to be priced by the appropriate staff, and I'm hoping that that happens. And in that case, there will be a vote taken by the GRF board as to how to proceed. That meeting, the date is yet to be determined, and I hope you all keep involved in it. Thank you on that one.
Thanks. And while
Can I have a question for Andy?
Sure.
Yeah.
Andy, one thing about replacing Building E, in the equation, I've never seen them actually put into the equation the maintenance and the control and everything else that goes into a building after we've built it. Has that itemization been put into the equation, or do they just leave that out?
No, and as I mentioned earlier, the Building E started out covering, 40 people, something like that. And what it's morphed into is basically a satellite security facility in the yard, much smaller than was originally envisioned, covering only the security people. And what it doesn't include is maybe 20 other people that have to be housed somewhere, but the proposal doesn't say where they're going to go. So that's an open question, and there's a cost to that. Secondly, we're leasing space right now. The Building E option, as proposed, doesn't get rid of that lease space in its entirety. So again, another cost. And then there's maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. I also said that the option two, the shuffling things around, hasn't been priced yet. And having been a member of that subcommittee, I can tell you we asked for a total inclusion of things. You don't know what you don't know. So the experts are supposed to look at it and say, well, you forgot to do this. Okay, put it in. So apples and apples. And I think what you're pointing out is that we don't have apples and apples yet, and that's something we need to seek. But again, I just wanted to say that the Building E proposal and the option two, which is shuffle things around, were advocated based on a set of guiding principles. I believe that the second option, the shuffling things around, met all those principles, but the first one, replace Building E to a lesser extent, doesn't. So I want to say to all the people out there that don't like the second option for whatever reason, it met all the criteria that were put out there. If you eliminate some of the criteria, for example, if you say, okay, leave people in leased space, that would have led to a different proposal. But we met all the criteria as stated. So all I want to say is, again, like I said to JR, it's not personal, it's business. This is how we were boxed in, and if those guiding principles are valid, we met the guiding principles. So I don't know what more to say to that. Beyond this, it's a political thing, apparently, and that's up to GRF board to figure it out. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
If I may. Since I attended that meeting at the Clubhouse 5, I noticed that two things. One is vast majority of the attendants, 90+%, approved for Building E, new building, which chairman came up with a $5-point-some million appropriation. And the second one is chairman said the committee is done. So we no longer have that committee.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And while I have you, Andy, what's new with the GRF Finance Committee?
Okay, the GR Finance Committee met on April 17th. The next meeting is June 19th at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom, and also as a virtual meeting. I just want to say, we do have first quarter results for GRF, and comparison to third, GRF is showing an excess of revenues over expenses of $523,000, so that's good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And next, we'll get an update regarding the GRF Security and Community Access Committee. Reza?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Community and Access Committee met on April 24th. Several of the highlights of the meeting was one, staff recommended entering into a MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding with the City of Laguna Woods, to allow GRF Security Communication Center to use 800 megahertz of radio as part of the Orange County countywide coordination communication system and monitor the Orange County Fire Authority response to Laguna Woods Village. And that was approved and sent through. The other highlighted one was discussion of the cost of replacing lost or stolen member's card. That was discussed this morning also, was 0 to 60 to 120, depends on the condition or circumstances of the lost card. And that's now in the GRF board. The other one was discussion of how to change or improve the cards that we have into a smart card. Right now it's a dumb card, it's just a card. Don't use it very much. Well, we've used it in a couple of places, like garden center use card and in tennis court use, but I don't know any other places that use that. Maybe the gym over here might be use it. I'm not sure of that. But anyway, we have this card that has, the opportunity to become a smart card and used for all the facilities, but there's cost associated with it. There's some changes. So those were discussed. And the other items on that was there was a security and community access, a special open workshop to discuss the traffic rules, which Andy participated. Did you have any input from that, Andy? Or?
Well, again, as I stated before, I don't understand why we're 90% the same. I don't understand why we don't have a uniform set of rules with some exceptions for, differences. That's all I'm saying. I don't know why the three mutuals go about it when 90% of it's the same.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, you cannot just travel from this side of the street to that side of the street and the security tell you the rules different. You have 5. But anyway, the next meeting for that is going to be June 26th at 1:30 p.m. boardroom.
Okay, thanks. And Jim, what can you tell us regarding the GRF Broadband Ad Hoc Committee?
Well, the committee met on April 19th, April 30th, and May 8th. Some decisions were made moving forward, so things are progressing, and as you can see, having 3 meetings since our last board meeting, we're actually moving forward. The next meeting will be to be determined, but otherwise, things are moving very rapidly as far as bringing other new board members up to speed that are now on the committee, which takes some time for them to understand because a lot of us have been working on this for 2.5 years. So.
Yes, Andy?
Jim, this thing that's going on with the broadband rules by the state, the way they want to change the pricing, does the committee have a plan B in case that should pass?
We don't, and we're hoping it's not, and it's actually the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, that is pushing it forward, which is really not in the norm for them because usually they're an advocate for consumers, not so much for the providers.
And the bulk purchasing, if they deny bulk purchasing, get rid of it, it could triple our costs. But it's
Right.
gonna, if that happens, it's gonna triple our costs no matter what. So it really isn't going to affect decisions of the broadband, other than it's something we're gonna have to live with. But we already know that our congresswoman is already opposing it. And again, we have no comprehension of why the FCC would even propose such a thing.
Okay, thank you.
And Moon, you have a comment or question?
One is the first for raise up the community access. What happened with the gate 12? We are never going to have the arm up and down. For gate 12? To going to the clubhouse or golf course. A lot of people are waiting.
Yeah, that's part of this whole discussion. If they wanna put arms in there, they really have to move the kiosk back, and there is a cost associated with it. It has been discussed several times for the gate 12. That's what they're gonna do with it. So at this time, what I heard was cost prohibitive. But if we really want to control, we have to do it. If we really, other than that, everybody goes and, a couple of times I waived my driver license and I went through. So it doesn't matter, I pulled whatever card. Because they cannot just stop the traffic, it's dangerous. Because it backs up into the, Moulton Parkway, and it's not, they have to let people go. And as hard like they tried, I have nothing against the staff, so just don't get me wrong. But it is the nature of that process there that is not, the control is very hard.
Yeah. The second one is just to the gym. The cable and all that, if we trying to upgrade or change it, it's gonna, I heard that it's gonna be costly quite a bit. Is there any possibility, I asked that way back, is there any possibility we wait a little bit or whatever and we go completely wireless? Then we can bypass that? Bypass what?
Actually, it kind of put me in a position here, because we really can't discuss in open session those specifics, because it's all contractual matters that we're looking into. But in closed session, I can answer those. And we actually have Paul Ortiz coming to our closed session to give a presentation today.
Last time, about a year ago, I attended that meeting and I brought that wireless issue, and then Steve was telling us impossible. So, but when I look at the technology improving here, and in many places I heard many other people saying it is possible. So I'm not so sure what.
Okay, great, thanks.
Everything is possible.
Thanks for that. Next, we'll get an update regarding the GRF Mobility and Vehicles Committee.
Yes, Mobility and Vehicles Committee was held on Monday 15th, which is a couple days ago. In the meeting, committee discusses 3 village transportation program and a city transportation program for the following. First, fixed route, which is known as Easy Rider program, and a fixed route. Number 2 is a journey program, which is curb-to-curb transportation service for medical need. And the 3, booster program, that is a contract service through Lyft or Life Incorporation. Residents can call, served by calling Transportation Office 949-597-4659 during the following hours: Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., and then 5 to 10 p.m. Those 2 time period. Sunday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And Saturday, excuse me, I screwed up. Saturday is 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Sunday is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And also, the last item was the Laguna Woods City Yellow Cab program that requires a senior mobility program card. The card can be obtained from City Hall by registering at the City Hall. Next MNV meeting is scheduled on Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. Thank you.
Does anyone has a question or comment?
Yeah, I didn't go to last meeting because I had to go some other place, but the complaint from resident regarding the bus system we are running, and a lot of time we saw empty bus going on or one or two people going on. Okay, so a lot of people think waste. I'm hearing and I got a lot of email from residents. But we do need service for those people who really need that service. So there must be some kind of way we can save their money and then use maybe 1/3 or much less, I don't know, much less money. We can provide that service in other way. And so when I was at the committee, there was a very, very strong resistance. They want to keep on going to the bus system. But when you look at how the bus system happened, created, when Laguna Woods created at beginning, there was no structures around here. It was isolated. So they want to go to grocery, they have to go pretty far distance. So they did that for that kind of purpose. They created the bus system. But now, they're all around. We have people, even groceries right here, at the 2 groceries here. I can walk there a lot of time. But what I'm saying is, there must be a way we can compromise and we can save money to do that. But there was a very, very strong resistance throughout the committee, committee members or some of the residents. Very small group. But we do need a service to those small groups because they do need it. But I feel we have a much better system with a less cost we can create.
All right, thanks for that. What's the latest from the GRF Landscape Committee? Ira?
Well, there were 4 small items. The committee last met on Wednesday, May 8th. There was a charging station update. Since we're converting to a lot of electric appliances like blowers and so on, it was found we need more batteries than anticipated, which means more charging stations for those batteries, which meant going back to the city and redesigning the shed that it's going in, the maintenance shed that all those things were going in. So that was a little delay, but that's moving forward. And hopefully we'll be back on schedule and we'll have all our electric appliances for next year or maybe later this year. The schedule for the gate entries was updated, so most of those gate entries will be modernized with new plantings. There was a West Creek update, basically just cleaning up in West Creek to meet the fire regulations, and which is a yearly type of a situation. And lastly, there was a mulch agreement once again with the city of Laguna Woods, where they basically gave us money so we could use more mulch here. They're not taking any mulch. It was more or less a donation, a yearly donation. But if they ever wanted to, they could collect. I don't have the exact number, but it's quite a bit of mulch that we produce. But they're supporting our mulch program, and that's for the state requirement for them. So the next meeting is on August 14th here in the boardroom.
Okay. Moon, you had a comment or question?
Yeah. Throughout the community, our building is 60, 70, or 50 years old. It's getting old every year, not getting younger. just like us. And when you look at our budget, landscaping is the biggest item. Second one is a building. I think, I like to have landscaping is a second or third. Building should be the biggest item we should prevent, whatever it is, improve it. But somehow our budget system, what we are doing, it is beautiful community. You look at nice flowers, all that. Okay, we keep on spending more money on that one. But beauty is a cosmetic to my mind. I need to fix the patient sickness first and the facelift later. Thank you.
Thanks. What's new with regards to the village traffic hearings?
Yes, a closed hearing, traffic hearing was held on May 15th, the same day as the Mobility and Vehicle Committee here in the boardroom. In the traffic hearing, total of 4 violations were heard, and the committee voted as follows. First, 1 abandoned vehicle that was not guilty and no fine because that vehicle was considered as a RV, but actually when we review and claim from the owner, that was not the RV. So we voted no guilty and no fine. Number 2 item, there were 2 NOV of failure to stop. One is guilty and reduced fine, and the second was guilty and fine. This failure stop was issued to a resident who invited a visitor. Visitor violated the stop sign. That means the resident is responsible of a visitor's violation. Please, residents, keep in mind that. And the last one is 1 speed violation that was over 11 to 15 miles per hour. No guilty, no fine due to 2 reasons. 1, very difficult to identify driver. And then second item is no public notification or information was issued. This was based on trial basis that the management directive of no violation, no stop of the vehicles who violated the speed. So I hope this is the last one that we review, the NOV for the speed violation. And the next traffic hearing schedule is on June 19th, 2024, 9 a.m. in this boardroom. Thank you.
Thanks, SK. Next, we'll have an update of the Information Technology Advisory Committee. This committee, known as ITAC, is overseeing the development and implementation of a new village-wide computer system, Dynamics 365, which is a Microsoft-based, cloud-based application developed to support large organizations, is what is being configured and implemented to support Laguna Woods Village. The first phase of Dynamics 365 implementation will focus on our financial and key back-end functions and activities, which include accounts receivable, purchasing, general ledger, fixed assets, warehousing, and project accounting. This first phase is scheduled to go live in August of this year. End-to-end testing continues to ensure that the system is ready for deployment, and included are plans to test the data conversion and go-live activities. The ITAC, which is a closed committee, is scheduled to next meet on Friday, May 31st. And finally, the following GRF committees have not met since the last 3rd board meeting of April 16th, so there are no updates for these. The GRF Community Activities Committee last met on April 11th and is next scheduled to meet on Thursday, June 13th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. The GRF Media and Communications Committee last met on April 15th and is scheduled to next meet on Monday, July 15th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. The GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee last met on April 10th and is scheduled to next meet on Wednesday, June 12th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom. And finally, the GRF Disaster Preparedness Task Force last met on March 26th and the next meeting is scheduled for next Tuesday, May 28th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom. So this concludes our committee reports. We're now on to agenda item 14, which is for the board to note of any items they would like to be discussed in a future board meeting. So far on our list, we have one item, which today we put on a 28-day member review and comment, and that is the approval of the revision to standard 47 for bathroom splits. Are there any other items anyone would like to be considered to be added for a future open board meeting? Andy?
Yeah, Mark, I don't know how to phrase this or who it belongs to. A smarter ID card. Not smart. Our cards are smart to some degree, but a smarter ID card.
Okay, I would think that would be a GRF thing, but okay. Probably Community Access Committee, but
It could be
see if I can find
ITAC.
out for you.
Could be ITAC also.
Okay. Okay. All right, any others? Moon?
Yeah, there's a lot of rapid improvement or changing including AI technology right now. It's a big evolution coming or going on right now. So if we wait about a year, we may see the whole different game. So if we put a lot of money right now, bring in new computers or systems, and then maybe another year later it will be outdated. So I want to put that in consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and just to clarify, the Dynamics 365 is a living, breathing system. It's not something we purchase and we're doing it in-house. It's in Microsoft's facilities as they implement new technology, including artificial intelligence, we'll be able to take advantage of it, maybe for a fee, but it'll be part of what they offer. So thanks for that. But unfortunately, technology moves so quickly, we can't wait. We've got a lot of things that technology can help improve. Even today, if we'd had it already, we'd be saving money, but it takes a bit of time. So we'll continue to work on that, but thanks. Any others? All right. Agenda item 15 then we'll move on to is our director's comments. Do any directors have any final comments they'd like to share with our board or with members? David? Nothing? Brad? Moon? Okay. Ira? SK? Nothing? Jim? No? Andy? Reza?
On the smart card, we just, our cards are smart. It has a strip on it. You can program it, but you need to have infrastructure in order to use it. So, we can program the card right now. There is no problem, but we don't have infrastructure to use it.
Okay, got it. Okay, Jules, you have any last minute comments?
Jules let me know that he has no comment.
Oh, okay, got it. I didn't realize that, so thanks. And I have none. So the business of our open meeting has now been completed. At this time, the monthly board meeting will recess for 18 minutes, and then we will move on to executive committee and reconvene in executive session. So thanks for those of you who have participated. Appreciate it, and thanks to everyone else for listening. We are now done.